Please be seated. If you're a runner or a walker, you know that there is nothing better to clear your head than to put on your sneakers and let the rubber hit the road. If you're a swimmer, you know there is no place to let your mind wander and be free, like in the water. Or maybe for you, it's sitting in the car and watching the trees fly by as you take to the open road and follow that yellow line. As I was swimming laps one day at the YMCA, I found myself thinking and lost in thought. As I traversed the pool from one end to the other and back again, I realized that I was following a black painted line at the bottom of the pool. And I began to understand something that I had never noticed before. Life is filled with lines, both seen and unseen. Lines make up the world. They stripe the roads to guide and divide traffic. They frame the buildings that we live and work. And when you look at a map or a globe, you see the whole world enclosed within the long lines of longitude and latitude. Some lines are drawn to connect. Train lines stretching across miles, phone lines, or at least what used to be phone lines, carrying voices, electric lines transmitting pulses, or even the wrinkles that tell the story on the human face. Others are drawn to separate. Fences, borders, and boundaries that mark off what is ours from what is theirs. Rules are lines by another name. Yes, rules are lines, invisible guides that show us where to step and where not to go. Please keep off the grass, for instance. They shape behavior just as surely as the painted stripes shape the flow of cars, drawing paths that help us live together in order and safety. Whether natural or man-made, lines shape the way we move, the way we see, and the way we understand our place in the world. Lines also have a way of limiting and hemming us in. Yesterday, I went swimming in Quaker Lake at Allegheny State Park. As I swam the length of the lake without a line to follow, I felt the freedom of my life release and open up. Without a line, there was no need to worry about staying on it and staying true to course. Or there was no concern about pace and how fast I was going from one lap to the other. No clock to watch. Too often the lines that guide us and keep us safe also squelch our creativity and bottle up our humanity. We miss experiencing the very wildness and freedom of our souls. As I swam without the assistance of a painted line on the bottom of a pool, I discovered a deep feeling of release and openness. And I thought about the bent woman in today's gospel who experiences a similar transformation. The text begins with a typical image of Jesus set in a typical time and place. Now, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath, which, of course, he would be. But all of a sudden, it's broken up by the sudden appearance of a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 long years. And she was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. Jesus sees her and beckons her over, saying, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." And she's released, like that, from her ailment, and healed on the spot. No longer is she bent over and knotted up. Now she's as straight as an arrow. Her spine is back in alignment, pun intended. And while it is a cause for her personal celebration, not everyone is celebrating. The leader of the synagogue, the one whose job it is to keep the rules and set the standards and make sure the flock is on the straight and narrow, well, he's not so happy. He's worried about this protocol of healing that's against the rules. He can't argue with results, however, but he's dismayed by the way that they are out of line with the religious cultures. The Sabbath is a sacred day when Jewish law prohibits any form of work. And so the leader is indignant, and perhaps, like a modern-day referee, felt compelled to cry, "Foul!" If this were a basketball game, he would have been a ref and blown his whistle. And everyone would have stopped, action would have been looked at the ref. "You crossed the line, Jesus. Yes, your shot was hit nothing but net, but your foot was across the line. Also, the shot clock was on 0. No goal." But Jesus sees both the particular plight of this woman and beyond this limited set of rules. And he knows the infinite rules of creation. Using an ancient rabbinical rhetorical practice called qual v'chomar, literally the Hebrew words meaning light and heavy, Jesus argues from a less important case, "Don't you release your animals on the Sabbath?" to a more important one, "How can I not release this daughter of Abraham who's been bound by Satan for 18 years?" He's not arbitrarily disregarding the rules or crossing the line just for the hell of it. He's inviting us to notice a deeper set of ordering that leads to freedom. This simple story invites us to stop and do the same. So this morning, I'm wondering, what is it that you need to be set free from? What is hemming you in? What are the oppressive lines or rules squelching your creative and wild soul? How might you open to a world not ruled by lines? For the truth is, all of us feel the pressure of conforming to the expectations set upon us from somewhere else. The need for a perfect smile, perfectly aligned teeth, always whitened and shining. And sometimes we carry these silent burdens for so long, we don't even realize how much they've bent us over and stooped us low. Maybe it's the need to be successful, to make lots of money, or have a respectable job, to wear the right brands of clothing or drive the right kind of car. Maybe it's to have the perfect body. All of us are laboring under someone else's rules. But Jesus is here to release us. In his classic book, The Sabbath, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Eshel expounds about the true genesis and genius of the Sabbath as release from the labor of space and the freedom created through an embrace of time. He writes, "Time is the process of creation, and things of space are results of creation. When looking at space, we see the products of creations. When intuiting time, we hear the process of creation. Things of space exhibit a deceptive independence. They show off a veneer of limited permanence. Things created conceal the creator. It is the dimension of time wherein humanity meets God, wherein humanity becomes aware that every instance is an act of creation, a beginning, opening up new roads for ultimate realizations. Time is the presence of God in the world of space. And it is within time that we are able to sense the unity of all beings. And the time he speaks about is not that anxiety-making time of the work week, which projects futures and frets about pasts. No, the time that he speaks about is the only real time, the present moment, the now. This is what Sabbath is all about, being present to ourselves and to our Creator. He continues, 6 days a week we wrestle with the world, wringing profit from the earth. On the Sabbath, we especially care for the seed of eternity placed in the soul. The world has our hands, but our soul belongs to someone else. 6 days a week we seek to dominate the world. On the seventh day, we try to dominate the self. Well, that really hit me square between the eyes this week. Those of you who know me, even only in passing, know that I have a problem with this kind of timelessness. I have a restless need to prove myself effective and good, and I'm burdened by a need for speed that harkens back to my earliest childhood wounds and my learning disabilities. I remember the acute feeling of everyone else being done with their test and talking quietly as I struggled to just simply read their questions. I remember the shameful impulse to just move more quickly and fill in answers, fill in those bubbles, whether they're right or wrong didn't matter, just so I wouldn't be the last one to put my test in the basket on the teacher's desk. You've long heard me talk about my dyslexia and the struggle to overcome it. It's a burden I've never been able to hide from myself or anyone else, especially if you've gotten an email from me. But there's always another burden or expectation placed upon us that we cannot see. For years, kindly mentors and friends have suggested that I might have another ailment, that perhaps I should talk to a doctor about my attention deficit disorder. But I've always rejected that ailment. No, that's not me. I'm dyslexic. That's my dad and my brother's burden. I couldn't see it. I couldn't bear to accept that something else might be wrong with me. And so I kept running, trying to outpace the reality. This year, it finally caught me and caught up with me. During my pilgrimage to Assisi in May with my mentor and friend and first real boss, Douglas, who's been quietly and not so quietly suggesting that I might indeed get help from my ADD over the last 21 years, I was finally able to be open and receptive to the Sabbath healing that Jesus offers us all today. I could lay down my burden and my self-judgment and stand up straight. I found finally the wildness of my soul again and remembered that it belongs to God. Something else I read recently stopped me in my tracks. Organizational theorist Peter Block wrote this little page in a book that I'm reading, and of course the title of the book was like written for me. The question to how is yes. I'm the kind of person that likes to do only things that are impossible. So yes, that's the kind of book for me. So I started reading, and I was loving it until I came to this page, and I was like looking in a mirror. He writes, "The quality of our experience is not measured by the seconds on the clock, but by the timelessness of our experience. We fool ourselves if we ask how long it will take before we know who we are, before we become conscious, before we identify with our purpose, or remember our own history in a more forgiving way. The things that matter to us are measured by depth. Would you assess your humanity by its pace? When I view myself as a time-sensitive product, valued for what I produce, then I have depth and then I have made depth extended thought and the inward journey marginal indulgences. Instead of doing what matters, I spend my life doing what works. Sure, it increases my market value, but it postpones the question of my human value. No wonder we feel lost, or at times helpless, because speed is indifferent to its destination. We are in as much of a hurry to do things that have no meaning as we are those things that matter. At times, the only goal is simply to go faster. Acting on what matters means knowing the difference between moving quickly and knowing where we are going. I know that when I'm driving and I'm lost, I always speed up. If I do not know where I'm going, or if I'm going to the wrong place, I want to get there more quickly. This, of course, would suggest that speed itself is an indication that we are always lost. If we decide to act on what matters, then we shift our consciousness about pace. There is always time to do everything that really matters. If we do not have time to do something, it's a sign that it does not matter. If we claim that going fast is not our choice, but it's a dictate of the world, then we have yet to lay claim to our freedom and risk the possibility of saying no. If we love going fast and speed is our friend, guilty, then we need to ask what we are postponing. There is simply no way to shorten the time that depth requires. Any of the values we hold dear wilt under the pressure of time. It's easy to imagine buying instant coffee at the store, disgusting as that may be, but it is difficult to imagine instant compassion, instant reconciliation, instant justice. If we yield to the temptation of speed, we short-circuit our values. We short-circuit our lives. I wonder this morning, what is holding you in bondage? What lines are you conforming to simply so you might get there more quickly? What journey are you denying yourself because you're not willing to slow down and experience the rest of the Sabbath? Today is the Sabbath of our healing. Will you be continued to be ruled by the lines of this world? Or will you let God open your eyes to the depth and wildness of your soul? This is the Sabbath. Now is the time to remember where our soul belongs and what our life is really about.